I would just try to become like a familiar face within comments for people I respected so that they would kind of look forward to me and me engaging. And sometimes I would troll them, and you can create beef with people in a way that is fun for them. You can also create serious discussions with people. Like on Twitter, you can have a major figure of the industry engaging with you on that if you're right or if there's something to what you're saying.
In this episode, I'm talking to David Phelps. You might know him as @DivineEconomy on Twitter. He's the co-founder of Jokerace, which is a platform for on-chain contests, and he is, in my opinion, one of the best examples of founder-led marketing in web3. So far, some of the biggest wins for Jokerace in terms of contests created, in terms of product traction, they've all come from David just being an absolute menace on Twitter, both in terms of building his own personal brand, but also just endlessly shilling his product, jumping on trends, and just inserting himself into the right conversations. So yeah, we talk all about marketing for Web3 founders, where to start, what to write about, what to do, what to absolutely not do, and also who to follow to learn more. All right, enjoy. I guess let's just start with a quick intro. Who are you and what are you building?
Cool. I'm David, and I'm building a product called Jokerace, which is on-chain contests.
I bring you here to talk specifically about sort of founder-led marketing because I think it's one of larger pain points for a lot of new founders and builders in Web3. And I think yesterday I saw Ish from, he's a head of social at A16Z. He had this thread about how distribution is the moat. Essentially, the thesis is AI is going to make content creation pretty much ubiquitous over the next 2+ years. Images, video is all, and writing is all kind of going to be commoditized. And in that sense, a lot of projects are just going to sort of fall in with the noise. And then the only real way to differentiate yourself from the crowd is going to be having some sort of a personal brand and personal attachment with the audience that you want to reach out to, right? I think you're doing a very good job at this, but I want to kind of hear your general thoughts on what do you think founder-led marketing is? How do you approach it? Do you consider yourself sort of a founder-centric marketer at all?
Yeah, good question. I sort of agree and I sort of disagree with that thesis, for what it's worth. Like, I think AI will produce a lot of generic content. What AI really struggles with, is being unhinged. And the reason it's really hard for AI to be unhinged is one, its data sets are so general. That's a solvable problem. But the other one is the guardrails that are put on, so that's why Grok is interesting because Grok can actually be like a little unhinged in some ways. But I think, oftentimes in culture, you see like tech moves one direction and then humans move the other. It's like the more CGI that we get out there in the world, the more people like TikTok videos that are like low quality and relatable. And I think the same is going to be true for social media. The more kind of AI content that we get, the more people are going to want to push back against whatever that kind of aesthetic is, with something that's much more human, right? And so the question of like founder-led marketing is like really a question of like, how are you human, in a way that people like maybe they respect or maybe they relate to. And those are kind of like two different fields. Like I almost think about like there's kind of three things you can do in trying to build an audience, and one is be really relatable, so people just feel like they understand your experience is like similar to theirs, right? Which I actually don't focus that much on. I would say that's probably a weak point for me personally. Another one is like getting people to laugh, like just being like a stand-up comic in a public space so that like people really enjoy your content because you're delighting them and you're creating something fun for them. That's probably something I'm better at. And then the third one is like you're teaching them. They respect you because you are a thought leader that they look up to and you have wisdom to impart in some ways, right? And that can get really dangerous when you have like a lot of traders. And so I almost think about it as like those are kind of the three, it's like a triangle, right? And you can be wherever you want in that triangle. Like you can go totally one direction towards one of those. You can be somewhat in the middle, but like it somewhat depends on what your actual product is, right? In terms of like what you might want to lean on. So like if you're a ZK researcher, building like the latest in, cryptographic security, like being on the respect side is probably really important for you. Like you want to be a thought leader that people are looking up to you for your like thoughts on cryptography. Being really funny, or really relatable is like nice, and that might just like get people to like look over, to forgive you when problems arise. And so that's great. But like that's in some ways you want to be on a pedestal, right? Like in some ways you want to be a little bit higher than your audience and have everyone looking up to you, not on the same level as you when you're like a cryptographer. If you're doing what I'm doing, it's very different. Like I'm building, an app for anybody to be able to launch contests, no code, to bring in community, to get kind of like, tribal fights emerging between different communities that are battling each other to try to win. Within these contests, or just communities using it to make decisions. And so on that side, it's called Jokerace, or for short, how it sometimes go by Joke. And it's like, that's very much the brand is like, we want this to be fun, relatable, cause a little bit of chaos in a way that like everyone really enjoys. Like if this works well, it should be like a board game night or a card game. It's like, it's very, very simple tool. That you get together with your friends and you play this thing and you all stage a fight and then you go home and your friends, right? And so like I think for me personally, it's like I'm probably somewhere in the middle of the triangle or closer, like somewhere between the try to be like fun, delightful, and try to teach and like learn side of things. But like those are the ones that I think are most helpful. Respect still matters. Like you still want people to respect you as a founder, that you are like you have interesting insights, and frankly that you understand the tech. Like the
Mhm.
tech is the unlock for what everyone, especially in crypto, is building. And so there has to be some acknowledgement of like, well, why is the tech interesting beyond token price go up? Like, if your only thesis is, oh, we can tokenize it and the token price goes up, like that's a pretty lame thesis in 2024, I think. Others might disagree with me on that. And so I do think, you need to hit all of these points in the triangle a little bit, but it's helpful to kind of figure out where you land within them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I also just for the people listening want to paint a picture generally of what your Twitter looks like. You have about 60k plus followers right now. Yesterday or the day before, you had this sort of very reflective, in-depth thread about founders that overraise and the
Yeah.
pitfalls of people that raise too much capital, how that can lead to like being lethargic, losing the drive. Some people can
No.
sort of get lost in their new wealth, sort of like a soliloquy on founders overraising. And then not like 12 hours before that, you wrote, we don't talk about it enough, but one of the major advantages of working from home is just how bad everyone can smell in a perfectly successful sales call. So that's,
Correct.
I
Yeah.
think, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's kind of the range of your tweets overall, right? And I think,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Keep going, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, right now you are becoming, I guess, a little bit synonymous with the Jokerace brand. How
Right.
much do you think about that when you tweet about can this sort of have a negative effect or impact on Jokerace as the brand? Are you sometimes like, oh, maybe I shouldn't chime in on something because it might make Jokerace look bad? Or what if I tweet something dumb and people get back at me and get back at Jokerace? Do you worry about negative EV for the company that you built when you tweet from your own account?
Great question. Negative EV, no. What I do worry about is irrelevance. Like if I start tweeting a bunch about politics or about like film history, something I'm really passionate about and I love, like that's going to dilute the kind of like audience, right? Where they're going to want to like no longer hear me because I'm not saying something that's relevant for them. And so like I do think like maintaining relevance is important. And frankly, I could do a better job of it. Like I think if I had picked just one tip of the triangle and I just did thought posts and I was just a thought leader or I just did jokes, like I would probably have be more successful because people there's a lot of people who probably like follow me for the jokes and are really annoyed at the other content, where it's like, on cryptography, and there's people who probably follow for content on cryptography are really annoyed at like the jokes. And so like, I already do have a dilution problem in some ways, I think, that is like, yeah, I've been successful on Twitter, but you look at the people who have like 600,000 followers, it's like they're really consistent, right? And I don't have the consistency nor necessarily want it personally. So dilution, I think, is actually the real issue to worry about. In terms of negative EV, you have to be a little bit careful. And so I have some kind of guardrails that I put on myself.
Mhm.
I really try to avoid naming names. I do try to call it behavior because I think the space needs to hear it. I think it's good for my own legitimacy to be honest with people. And frankly, I hope people will read it and improve. And it's like stuff like that I will do. But calling out names I try to avoid because we're all human, we all fuck up, and like we all could be better. And I think just bullying in public is just bad form. But the other thing is like you can have some negative EV with some demographic. It's really good, for you for building positive EV with the demographic that matters to you. So like a lot of what we're thinking about is like, look, for this to really work, like there will be a whole male contingent who's probably, maybe they're using prediction markets on top of us and like deciding who the best NBA player is, and that's cool. But like consumer behavior is really driven by women. And so like just even in a most selfish way, it's like it's really important for us to be able to like have women on this platform who are having a good time and using this and like and we're growing the TAM, for crypto that we're not just appealing to the 800 people there who are already in the space. Because if all we can do is appeal to the 800 people in the space, we die. Like we need to be able to grow way beyond that and be able to get, non-crypto users. So like a major focus, right? And this is just pure business sense, right? Like I'm not saying this even from a perspective of like my personal politics. It's just like it's really important for us to be able to support women. Like, and I think it should be important for every company to do that. And every time I tweet that, I get just so many haters coming after me, for, thinking that like the blockchain should discriminate and like, and thinking it's women's fault already if they chose not to embrace this technology. And just like, all sorts of kind of rampant misogyny. And that's great for me because like they are helping distribute that content to the people I actually want
Right.
to read it, right? And so it's like, yeah, is it getting negative EV among people who I never will probably never use the platform and don't matter to me? Yeah, and that's great because they're actually helping me reach the people who will. And so I do think there's a lot of fine lines to follow here. But like weaponizing haters is like it's a very it's a within guardrails and limits, it can be a really effective strategy too.
Very cool. A short sort of a history on how you started on Twitter. I think it was
Yeah.
probably because Jokerace you started. I don't know how long ago, maybe 7, 8 months. At least it is the first time that I think we started talking to you.
No, I started in January 2022 in its original form, which is just a game, and then Sean and I started building the platform around May of 2022.
Okay.
So it's been going 2 years. Yeah, yeah.
When did you start really putting in the work and the hours on trying to build yourself as an online sort of brand and persona? Was it before that? Was it in line with it? Or did you just feel like even before you had a company, before you had a product, you were like, this is something that is long term going to help me in some way?
Yeah, I got into crypto in 2017. I didn't know anybody in the space. I didn't work in the space. I had an ed tech startup that was totally outside. We had never raised for it. We were profitable early, never took venture capital. So I was not in the world of VCs. I was not in the world of like Silicon Valley startups. I was not in the world of crypto at all. And I, did the standard thing that you do when you get into crypto, which is you make a ton of money in 6 months and you lose all of it, 1 month later. And, like a classic story. And then, I learned my lesson, right? I had my comeuppance that I kind of deserved from my hubris and realized like I actually need to know people in the space because I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I think Cardano is a great bet. Like I'm an idiot. So it's like I need to be smarter about this. So in 2020, I started a Substack to write about tech and crypto and economics. And partly just for myself because I was trying to put in the hours and the reps just to go deeper on it. And the best way to do that is to write. But partly also because I thought I need to build a network around this. And I really put off like even starting a Twitter because I was like, it's just such diluted content in terms of like how deeply you can think compared to like a Substack. Like, and I still think my Substack is the real writing. Like the Twitter is like kind of hypotheses. The Substack is like where you test those hypotheses by actually having to go long form. And it's the full research. Like and so I finally set up Twitter in 2021 around March or April, I think late March. I was like, I'll just try to build a network this way. And I would say it took me 6 to 8 months. And this is in 2021 when everyone cares about crypto's following content. It took me about 6 to 8 months to get to 1,000 followers. Like I didn't know people, and I was just replying, trying to share content, and also figuring out, frankly, how the Twitter game worked. And I would say if you read the tweets from those era, you would probably have the impression I was like a 50-year-old man. Like I was writing in this very formal, stilted way to try to get respect.
Mhm.
And I finally had some friends who were just like, "You're kind of like." You're goofy. Like, why aren't you goofy on Twitter? It's like that's who you are, and like, why wouldn't you be yourself? And so I broke it down. I was like, wait, I'm gonna make jokes. This is way more fun. It's way more fun for me, and it's just it's what personally is what I would want to do in a real life space is tell jokes. And so I started doing that a lot more. I started building up fake narratives and fake beefs. And I created like a fake competitor to A16Z and was trolling A16Z every day and just like started doing the performance art side of things along with the thought leadership. And like that really worked well, especially in 2021 when people were, massively migrating to the space. And so what's interesting is like then the whole thing took off exponentially. And by mid 2022, I think I had like 40,000 followers. So something like the additional 20 are only like from an additional 2 years. Like I got almost all of them up front just because it was a bull market. And probably they've all muted me and probably they don't even like the algorithm doesn't even show them my tweets anymore because they were just like looking for trading advice that I never gave. So follower count really doesn't mean that much and should never be the thing that you optimize for. Like what really matters is the quality of your followers and how engaged they are and how much like they're responsive. Like the actual number is totally meaningless. And especially the algorithm is not going to give your content to all your followers. Like it'll give content to relevant people who like that type of content. So that would be the other thing I'd say is like the whole game of focusing on followers or thinking that's meaningful is totally fucked.
This actually brings me to so sort of the whole idea of this is trying to help new founders. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking like if you were to make a founder centric or founder led marketing playbook, let's say I'm a new founder. I started a protocol, but I have zero online presence. I have
Yep.
like 35 followers. I have no
Yep.
engagement.
That was
Uh,
me. That was me.
how do I start to build a following to a place where at some point, like long term in the future, my tweets can help my product convert to new users? What do I talk about? Do I reply guy more than I write? How much do I write? How often do I tweet? Like, how would you approach it now in 2024?
Yeah, it's hard for me to say because the environment does change, and I'll talk about what I did, but it doesn't mean it would work today. The algorithm has also changed a lot. But what I did was, definitely reply guide. Like I would just try to become like a familiar face within comments, for people I respected, so that they would kind of look forward to me and me engaging. And sometimes I would troll them too in like a funny way, and you can create beef with people in a way that is fun for them. You can also create serious discussions with people. Like you can start creating real debates with people and be like, I disagree with you. And like on Twitter, you can have a major figure of the industry engaging with you on that if you're right or if there's something to what you're saying, right? So like getting conversations going, being funny and likable, like all the same things I guess gave, but doing it in replies is going to be a good way to get visibility. I will say overall, what's interesting is like if you tell jokes on the internet, people don't follow you. They like the joke, but then they're not likely to come back for your content unless they've seen you joke a bunch of times. Like if you become a familiar face. However, for thought leadership, they do very quickly follow you because like immediately you have insight, right? And that's what they need insight, whereas joke is nice to have. So doing that is helpful. But honestly, the main thing I did was my Substack. I was writing a piece every week and so I had all this content to share. And so when stuff came up, I could not just like disagree in a tweet. I could drop a link. And I got really lucky because James, who was at Arc and was like kind of, like a crypto influencer, like saw this piece I wrote called User Generated Finance. And I had 50 followers, 60 followers at that point. And he was like, I want you to be on this podcast, which has like 100,000 people because I think your article is really good and really interesting. And he brought me on, and that just gave me overnight a bunch of followers. And the thing is, people follow you when they see other people following you. And so just having the right people follow you will lead others to follow you as well, right? If you have a few good name people who other people trust, their legitimacy passes on to your legitimacy. And so getting those kinds of like few people to follow you, I think is just really, really important. But I can't say enough, like make other content outside of Twitter and share it. Like make if it's video, do that. If it's Substack, do that. If it's music, do that. But like Twitter is the distribution, but it is not always the best place for the content itself. And so like having a content game that extends beyond Twitter, I think is also really important.
Because I feel like for founders, especially for founders that are not like social media proficient, this feels like a massive opportunity cost to just go in there and start writing and trying to reach an audience that might never happen, right? So how much would you say, even right now, how time intensive is what you're doing? Like how much time are you actually spending writing posts, replying to tweets,
Yeah.
reading the timeline? Like, is it, I don't know, 40% of your day, 20%, 70%? How much do you think you take of your day to do what you're doing?
Oh, Twitter is still probably 30% of my day or so. 30, 40. I mean, well, and Telegram is probably another 30% of my day. Like, being but that's also because I'm like I would see myself as like the front man in some ways for what we're building. My co-founder is more like the like behind the scenes tech person who owns the tech. And so like, having that division of labor I think is helpful for us too. Like I'm doing a lot of the public kind of comms, but like Sean is really the one who's building this thing, like, in so many ways on the tech side. And like, obviously we're talking all day and, we interact with each other. I'm also the designer for the product. So there's a lot of overlap, but like to a great degree, having that division of labor, I think has been really helpful for us too. So yeah, for me, it's still really important. In terms of creating content though, I mean, yeah, like when I was starting, I was doing a piece every week on Substack. Now I'm doing about 2 to 3 pieces a year. And like but it's never an opportunity cost. Like I would push back strongly against that because like if you are creating content that is helpful for you, like you're getting a lot out of that. If you're writing or researching or having to articulate your thoughts in a way that is meaningful to you, like that is going to change how you build a product, how you build a team, as well. And so it's like even if nobody reads that thing, like you are still doing some of the best work you can do, to put yourself I mean you're training at the gym for the triathlon effectively like when you're writing or creating content like that is you putting in the reps, regardless of whether anyone sees the training video.
Do you think that there's a trend? I don't know how hard your fundraising experience has been, but do you see that popular accounts or thought leaders accounts, do they have an easier time raising capital, more or less? And do you think that that's going to go in a certain direction in the future? Like, is it going to be more and more easy to raise capital once you have a certain sort of following, or once you're a respected person within a niche?
It's gonna change. Right now, there certainly are if you're a celebrity, it's easier, if you have like over 500,000 followers, like you're Kobe or something. I mean, Kobe also has amazing product background, but like you're an NBA player, like sure, there's probably, that kind of traction as a famous figure will get, people excited. But no, overall, if you're a like niche crypto influencer, I really made the mistake of thinking that was going to help me raise, and oftentimes turned out to be the opposite. And I've seen this a lot with other people who like spend a lot of time on Twitter, like building an audience and brand also. VCs often hate it. And I think there's a couple reasons for this. One is there's risk, right? There's a liability, and we had a fund tell us like we're scared to invest in you because there's liability, because you're known. So like, if you're tweeting out something that everyone is seeing, that's going to affect the product. And I was like, exactly. Like, so that's going to help it grow. But they're like, but it could hurt it too. And I'm like, well, yes, but that's the trade-off in some ways you make. I think also founder-led marketing is such a new thing, that it's still an unfamiliar paradigm, and people still think, oh, if you're spending your time on Twitter, you're wasting your time. Like, you're not actually doing the hard work in the trenches of building a company and getting B2B deals. And I think what that really misunderstands is like in a Web 2 paradigm, you're building a siloed product in which you're building all your own tools. In a Web 3 product, it is based on composability. Like you want other people to be able to ingest and build on your data in whatever you're doing. And that is fundamentally social. That is why Web3 is a more social space than Web 2, is because like your ability to interact with other people and work with them in a composable way is what actually it builds your mode and lets it succeed. And so like actually being able to tap into culture is just a practical thing that you should be doing as a founder, as well, to get out there. Also, the distribution and getting people to care about your product is the hardest problem that everyone faces and the most important. And what we continue to see is like marketing is just so much more important than tech. And that's really unfortunate. It really should not be that way. But you look at Cardano versus Polkadot, like you will see marketing is more important than tech. Now, with that said, tech and marketing together are far more important than either one of those. Like if you can have both, that's how you win. But it's frustrating because I think when you do see like, well, why did Ethereum, become so big? It's founder-led marketing. It's Vitalik, like that people rally around. Bitcoin, why did it become so big? It's Satoshi, right? That like people rally around. Even like Solana, it says Anatoly, right? Like there's enough evidence at this point that like you actually you actually need this to succeed. Like we're building in social consensus protocols. These are based on like people's ability to build, consensus around your product. And we're living in a world where all the media landscape is based on, like social followings rather than on like billboard advertisements. And so, and we're living in a world where the meme is everything. The meme for modular restaking, like that is what get people really excited about, Eigenlayer Celestia. So I think it's unfortunate because I think VCs don't typically understand this, and often think you're actually wasting your time or not doing the hard work. And look, if this is all you're doing is marketing, like it's a fair complaint, and you don't have the product. But no, I have not seen it be easier, but I bet that's going to change very soon. I bet like there'll be funds that are making bet on like founder marketers, and like they're going to do very well, because that's the future, and like that's very very much where everything is going right now.
And I want to talk about just how what you're doing is impacting Jokerace, because I think literally you being on Twitter and being terminally online has led to some of probably the biggest wins for Jokerace so far in terms of contests
Yep.
created, right? Before that, one final question when it comes to like founder advice. I've talked to a couple of founders already that have asked, not me specifically, but have sort of floated the idea of hiring someone to ghostwrite for them in order
Yeah.
to build up an online persona. And I don't think it's a new
Yeah.
concept at all. I've seen it in 2019 as well. What do you think about that as a way to bootstrap your brand and sort of lean into founder-led marketing? Do you think that you can do that with sort of a fake authenticity, or do you think that people in Web3 have too much of a bullshit radar to be sort of fooled that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like plastic surgery, It's like you can tell when something's ghostwritten if it's ghostwritten badly, but you can't tell if it's ghostwritten if it's ghostwritten well. So, people have a negative take on it because we only kind of notice it when when it's done badly. So it's hard to say, right? It's like I don't truly know what is being ghostwritten out there. I know I personally would never ghostwrite. I'm really sure Vitalik and Anatoly would not either. My own take is like if you're really really good at this, like there's no ghostwriter. And maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. It's the plastic surgery thing. But I think like to really really do this exceptionally well, like it needs to be you, and it needs to be your own voice that you have developed with your own brand, your face, like, in some ways, your attitude. With that said, having a ghostwriter is better than nothing. Like if you are, not engaged in this at all, don't like it, don't enjoy this part of the process, and don't want to do it, then you're probably not going to do it well anyway. And so having ghostwriter is probably pretty good, as an option, to have something out there. But even then, I feel like you can still. I mean, look at Shuram, right? Like just a amazing researcher who's become this incredible frontman for Eigenlayer, because he's tweeting about what he's interested in intellectually. And those tweets sometimes get no engagement because they're so erudite. Anatoly is the same thing. And that's fine because even then people will see it and they might not like it because they don't understand it, but they'll still have respect for him, right? They'll still be like, you're clearly a genius. You have these thoughts. So I personally think you should do it yourself. I think it should be a reflection of how your brain works. But yeah, what if people hate your brain? It's always a decent question. What if your brain just isn't relatable to anyone? Is a decent question. But my overall sense is no, it's worth investing your own time to do this. Getting someone, a coach who can help you, probably a great idea. Like that's probably really helpful.
All right. So, I mean, we're talking here about funnel-led marketing, but I think so far, and I might just sort of edit this a little bit because people maybe that don't know you and that don't know Jokerace don't understand why I'm talking to you about it at all. Because I think looking at your progress so far with Jokerace and some of the recent contests that you had and the success that you had from those contests, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see the way that literally the timeline shows me how a contest is created. You see a tweet, you react to it, create a content on it. Maybe talk to me about your biggest contest to date. Where are the fucking apps? How did that go about? Because I feel like
second biggest. Second biggest to date, okay, as of Monday. Yeah, biggest was this week. Merkle did a bracket tournament for best L2s, and they had all the L2s fare off against each other. And the final round, it was ZK Sync versus Movement. People spent $44,000 on that contest. Merkle made $22,000 off a single contest. Oh.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So About the previous one that I saw, how sort of how it developed. Maybe you can walk me through it. But
Yeah,
from like the outside looking in, I saw Andy from Roll Up Code tweet about like a podcast with an anywhere the fucking apps would be the top 10
yeah,
podcast in the space, right? You jump on
yeah,
the idea. I think like
yeah.
within a couple of hours, you create the contest around it. And
Within about 10 minutes. Yeah.
there you go. Then
Yeah.
sort of walk me through it instead of me sort of talking about it. And because I feel like it's a great example of how not only do you first of all find inspiration from Twitter, but then you
Yeah.
also once you've sort of created something, you're relentless at that advocating for it through Twitter.
Yeah, well, I see Jokerace as a marketing tool fundamentally. Like what it really does is it builds communities. And it's okay at building communities who are running a contest for themselves. It's really good at building communities when they are competing in the contest against each other. Is how I would look at it. And then communities become really strong in competition. Like that's what builds really strong communities in some ways. And so because it's a marketing tool in some ways, in the sense that people who participate will go out and share you and share the contest and share this process because they want other people to come and vote for them or be engaged or be part of the community. Like because it's based in these kind of marketing principles. Like a lot of my focus is on tapping into current trends, narratives, and interest, right? And even using it myself as a marketing tool for us, which is kind of the beauty of it, which is like if we built the most successful marketing tool of all time, then everyone who's using it is also marketing us and getting more people to come and use us and building our legitimacy tool too. So I don't know that my lessons necessarily apply to like, what everyone would be building here.
Right.
But in terms of like being topical is always just a top move for Twitter. Like you want to be relevant in terms of, you want to be engaged in the current discussions and what people are thinking about. And I think I've just kind of applied the same rule for contests to some degree, and that's probably the insight of our marketer too. I is kind of a genius at this, and like. And so when I see something out there that's like, oh, if there's a question mark, that could be a contest. Like if people are asking what is the best so and so, that's immediately a contest. And so usually I'll just say this could be a contest if you want to set this up. You can do it in 1 minute, at which point nobody does it. On something like that, I was like, wait, I'm seeing this tweet is getting a ton of traction. People clearly really like this idea. I can just go and create this. And I reached out to Annie, and was like, do you want to do it? Do you want me to do it? And then went ahead and created it. And he was really, really helpful also in helping promote it as well. But just was like able to build off of like what was the question of the day and turn that into something that like, people started engaging in. And what was really cool with that one was like as soon as a few projects start engaging, they're tweeting about it. And that's bringing more projects to engage too. And that doesn't always work. Like I've had contests, I tried doing one the following week. I was like, this is such a big success. Let me do it for crypto games. And almost no crypto games wanted to participate in it. And so because no one was participating, no one else wanted to participate. So it doesn't always work, and I think like I wouldn't even say I'm particularly good at Twitter in my mind. Like I think what I just do is I put in a lot of reps. And so it's like, I just tweet a lot and then 1 out of 20 takes off. And I don't worry about the other 19 because no one's seeing them anyway. The algorithm isn't going to show them to anyone anyhow. And I think it's kind of the same thing is true for contests. It's like I can just launch these and like if one of them fails, there's no real loss. Like what did I lose from that? Like no one even knew it existed, so they don't care. But like if it succeeds, it brings a lot of attention.
So on the topic of being topical and being able to lean into what's currently trendy and something else is trendy on crypto every single day. Like, do you do anything special to curate your timeline in order to try and be as topical as possible? Like, how much do you prune your followers? Do you have specific sort of lists that you monitor? Or is it just like over time you've built this sort of a follower list or a list of people you follow and then you just stumble upon ideas? Do you do any social monitoring tool or social listening tool, I think they're called, to see if there's anybody talking about something that could be useful for Jokerace? Or is it just like you are always online, and so inevitably you've come upon ideas that can be implemented in Jokerace?
I wish I had better advice for this. I don't have any process for this, and I wish I did because the algorithm sucks, and my algorithm is really bad, and like it's just gotten so much worse for me personally since Elon's taken over, where it just privileges viral content rather than people I follow, and so I feel stuck on Twitter because if I just look at the people I'm following, then it's purely chronological and it's like whatever they've most recently retweeted, there's no engagement. And then if I look at the For You, it's pure engagement, but it doesn't care at all about who I'm following. And that's really frustrating. And why Twitter is in some ways a less effective tool today than it used to be, and also why you frankly just have to be you have to privilege virality, which is really unfortunate because the stuff that goes viral is not usually actually the relevant stuff. Like that the tweets that have been most effective for me in building Jokerace are not the viral tweets. They're the ones that 20 people see where I'm like, why isn't this happening? This would be a cool idea. But the 20 people who see it are the right people who come and make that contest. And then, it's like the algorithm is, in my mind, really hurting us all. What I've been doing recently is before I followed very few people. And that was in the old algorithm was really good for me to keep my feed really, really high quality for the people who I needed to hear from most. And so I was like, I want to hear from these people whenever they're doing anything at all relevant. So I'm only going to follow those people. And then Twitter will show me a lot of other people when their stuff is relevant to me. And that
Mm-hmm.
worked well. Now with the new algorithm, it's very different. And because it's going to keep giving me viral posts and I'm going to miss my follow, anything from Cryptosphere even, I'm starting to follow a lot more people, just because I want to be able to like maximize my algorithm towards the crypto Twitter as much as possible. So those are the people I'm seeing.
Yeah, same thing on my end. Timeline sucks, but
It sucks.
it's horrible. I have two more questions here that I wanted to ask you. We've kind of talked a little bit about reply guying, but do you have a strategy, and has your strategy sort of changed from where when you started to now? Like, do you subtweet massive accounts or like super popular and viral tweets in order to be in the mind of people? Do you mostly talk to like people that you know or whose work you appreciate and respect? Do you do a balance of those things? Like, what's your overall strategy?
No, I'm not looking for more followers. Like I don't think I get a lot of benefit from getting more followers right now. What benefits me is being part of the right conversations with the right people. And so like if anything, like yeah, like I'll occasionally try to do some deliberately viral posts just to make sure that like I'm out there in the brand space and being seen. But like no, the game I'm really trying to play is like reply if it's a conversation that it's helpful for you to be part of. Like that's when replying is really helpful at the point I'm at in my career, which is like I'm well known enough by the people that I want to know me. The product is well known enough by the people I want to know it. There's plenty of room for it to be known more. But like what's really helpful is to actually show people how it's relevant to them. People might know what Jokerace is, but they're not going to realize that they should be using it. And so like yeah, your goals switch every 6 months basically. And I think like the goal right now is like showing how this is relevant to people that it can actually help them. And like that's where my focus is.
Gotcha. Final question here that I have is I know that you were previously like looking for a marketer
Yeah.
for Race. Did you hire someone or are you sort of doing both like your account and tweeting from Joe Grace's main?
We did. And I really want to emphasize this, which is like when we talk about founder-led marketing, what we're really talking about is content creation on social media, which is a very, very limited piece of marketing. And I think even within the space, there aren't a lot of people who realize this. Like marketing is a conversion funnel, right? Marketing is a conversion funnel where you're trying to acquire people and convert them to use your product and then retain them. And if all you think about marketing as is content creation, you're only focused on one slice of that stack, which is the acquisition piece. Like all you're focused on is like getting this product in front of people to do digital native advertising so that people will be interested in you and interested in the product. And like, great, that's perfect. Like that's top of funnel and that's really, really important. But like you need to think about conversion funnels and retention, and that needs to happen within the product itself and within like and those pieces. And so like I would say I've been pretty good at that top of funnel acquisition piece because I focused on content creation and I've done like okay with that, right? But that's not all marketing is. Like marketing is much, much bigger than that. And it's campaigns to get people to use the product. It's email funnels to, like target them and let them know that something is relevant to them, right? It's like the Telegram and Discord where like they can interact with other people as well. Like those are all big pieces of marketing. It's like materials they can find on your site to read more about you and how you work and understand. It's like video, like stuff that's answering, questions that they have. Like all of those pieces are essential to marketing as well. Tools that they can use to share it too. And so I do think it's like we need to be really careful when we talk about founder-led marketing because what we're usually mean is just top of stack, it's just acquisition. And so a lot of the focus with us getting a marketer is say, look, I've been able to get this in front of a bunch of people within the space, but now what we really need to do is like build out our own user funnel so that like we are getting users to come back to us and be loyal and like and we can just reach them and let them know what's out there. It's the full conversion funnel that matters.
Makes a lot of sense. I actually had one more, which is just who else do you think does good founder-led marketing in Web3? Like if I was a new founder that wanted to get some inspiration and follow some people that do it well, who would you go?
The greatest is Winnie. Winnie at Chipped is the greatest founder-led marketer I've ever seen. Just a genius in every way at it. I learn from her constantly, and she really she's so much better than I am at this, and I just like I look up to her so much because she really has built a brand that people relate to and love, and like they want to see Chip succeed. Like it is not just that they like her product and they use it and they order the nails. It's like they want her to win. And like that is cool. Like that is really, really fucking cool to see a community that is that engaged. Vitalik, I would say, did a great job of founder-led marketing. I have lots of disagreements with how they're running things these days, but like genius at founder-led marketing. Possibly because he never intended to be, and that gave him an authenticity that's really, really powerful. Yeah, Satoshi, great example of founder-led marketing. So yeah, there's a bunch of examples, but Winnie is, I would say, the person I personally really just look up to the most.
Yeah,
And also Barachain,
I was
Smoky
gonna say
Barachain.
Smokey because
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Sure.
David, anything else for sort of for the end? I guess to check out Jokerace.
Check out Jokerace, jokerace.io. You can follow me on Twitter, divine_economy. You can DM me if you have questions. Come play in some contests.
All right, thanks a
Cool.
lot. All right.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.